Hi, I'm Any New Province, and this is Net Benefits, the series where we explore the benefits of net decking in Pauper. Tonight we're playing Mono Green Elves, or more specifically the Elves deck that Lucky Online took to a second place finish in the Pauper Challenge this weekend. Before I break down Elves for you, I just want to remind you that you can like the video or subscribe to the channel down below. I'd really appreciate it. It's a great way to let me know you're enjoying everything, and it really encourages me to keep making great Pauper content. Elves is a mainstay in the Pauper metagame. It makes a ton of mana, pumps out a ton of elves, goes wide, and beats down your opponent. It definitely looks like one of the most powerful Pauper decks in the field when it's really going off. I'm now realizing that you might not know that Mana Dork means a creature that can tap to add mana. All of our Mana Dork elves cost 1 and tap for 1 green mana. We have 3 Elvish Mystics, we have 2 Fintorn elves, and we have 3 Llanowar elves. We're also running Quirion Rangers. Quirion Ranger is a 1-mana 1/1 elf that says, return a forest you control to its owner's hand. Untap target creature. Activate this ability only once each turn. More often than not, we're using this ability to make sure we make our land drops. It's just another way to ramp by returning a forest, replaying it, and tapping it again for another green mana. Our other 1-mana elves are Nettle Sentinel. Nettle Sentinel says Nettle Sentinel doesn't untap during your untap step. Whenever you cast a green spell, you may untap Nettle Sentinel. It's a 2/2. The bigger body is almost definitely worth it to jump through a couple of hoops to untap it every turn. The next 1-mana elf we have is one of the flex slots I mentioned earlier. We have Essence Wardens. I believe they're replacing Well-Wishers. Essence Warden says whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. This is going to help us stay alive while we develop our huge board of elves. Okay, let's move on to our 2 drops. First, we have 3 Priest of Titania as a linchpin in the strategy. Priest of Titania is a 1/1, and it says, tap, add green to your mana pool for each elf on the battlefield. That's right, this is a symmetrical effect, so if we're on the mirror, we have to do some nightmare math to make sure we know how much our opponents and our own Priest of Titanias are tapping for. Our next 2 drop is Well-Wisher. It says, tap, you gain 1 life for each elf on the battlefield, another symmetrical effect, so if we're playing against elves, you can imagine crazy things to happen to the life totals. Our last 2 drop is Elvish Vanguard. Elvish Vanguard says, whenever another elf enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Elvish Vanguard. This is one of the ways that we have to punch through damage on a huge creature. Speaking of punching with huge creatures, our only 3 drop is Timberwatch Elf. Timberwatch Elf says, tap, target creature gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of elves on the battlefield. This is one of the scariest elves to run into, and if I'm playing against this deck, this is definitely one of the elves I'm saving my interaction for. Last but not least, we have our 4 drop, Lizalana Huntmaster. Lizalana Huntmaster says, whenever you cast an elf spell, you may create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. This is one of the cards that makes me think Elves isn't such a linear deck after all. When you have a Lizalana in your hand, you really have to time when it hits the battlefield just right so that you get the amount of tokens you need. Elves doesn't run a ton of non-creature spells, mainly to make one of its non-creature spells even more powerful. What Lucky Online chose to run in terms of non-creature spells is really cool, and I can't wait to try them out to see if they're better than other Elves builds I've tried. First, we have Vines of the Basswood, which says, Kicker Green. Target creature can't be the target of spells or abilities your opponents control this turn. If Vines of the Basswood was kicked, that creature gets +4/+4 until end of turn. This will protect our critical elves that our opponents have saved their interaction for, and maybe it'll help us punch through for lethal. We're also running Viridian Longbow, which you see pop up in a lot of Elves lists. Viridian Longbow says equipped creature has tap. This creature deals 1 damage to target creature or player. Its equipped cost is 3, but that's not a big deal because we make a ton of mana. We can untap our Nettle Sentinels and ping multiple times, and this card even helps us win through fogs out of popular decks like Morasatron. Finally, we have Lead the Stampede, the most recent addition to Tier 1 Elves decks. Lead the Stampede costs 3 mana and says, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal any number of creature cards from among them and put the revealed cards into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. You can see how this can get out of hand really quickly. This can be a draw 5, and even as a divination in green, it's still a really powerful card. There's a lot of contention as to whether this card should be run instead of Distant Melody or alongside Distant Melody or something like that. So if you want to talk to an Elves player about something cool, you should get their opinion on whether you should run Lead the Stampede or Distant Melody. Lucky Online decided to run Lead the Stampede, so we're running 4 of those tonight instead of the blue Distant Melody. Okay, let's have a look at the mana base. It's 13 forests. Alright, moving on to the sideboard, we have one Mob Justice. Mob Justice says, Mob Justice deals damage to target creature equal to the number of creatures you control. This is for decks that are going to try to fog us out and prevent our elves from dealing direct combat damage. We have one Magnify, which says all creatures get +1/+1 until end of turn. This is probably when we're trying to out-aggro decks. We have one Scattershot Archer. This is probably because Delver decks are so popular in the challenges recently. Scattershot Archer says, Scattershot Archer deals 1 damage to each creature with flying. It's probably really good against Battle Screech tokens as well. We have 3 Gleeful Sabotage, which says destroy target artifact or enchantment, and it has Conspire, which means as you cast a spell, you may tap 2 untapped creatures you control that share a color with it. When you do, copy it, and you may choose new targets for the copy. This is really great against Affinity and sometimes against Boggles as well. We have 2 Moment's Peace. Moment's Peace says prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. It has Flashback, 2 and a green. This is probably for combo decks like Tireless Tribe and Izzet Blitz. We have one more Well-Wisher when our opponents are trying to deal so much direct damage to our face that we can't keep up with them. We have 3 Spider Silk Armors for decks that might be running Electrickery trying to deal 1 damage to each of our elves. Spider Silk Armor says creatures you control get +0/+1 and have Reach. The Reach really helps against decks like Delver as well. Sometimes we can outclass those big flyers. We also have 2 Penumbra Spiders, probably another Delver card. I'm actually not really sure why this is here, but I love the card and I'm excited to see it. Penumbra Spider is a 4 mana 2/4 with Reach that says when Penumbra Spider dies, create a 2/4 black spider creature token with Reach. We're also running one more Viridian Longbow, and we have to deal 1 damage to each of our opponent's creatures, or maybe punch through that extra damage against fogs. So there it is, Mono Green Elves. We're going to be taking this deck live into a league at twitch.tv/AnyNewProvince. We're there every Monday night playing competitive PauperDecks, so come on by and give me some advice on how to win. I just want to remind you that you can like the video or subscribe to the channel down below. I'd really appreciate it. It's a great way to let me know you're enjoying everything, and it really encourages me to keep making great Pauper content. I hope you enjoyed this deck tech on the Dorks. I can't wait to play this deck again, and hopefully I can win out a league.